Good evening and welcome back to next episode of Hard Hats and Headspace. I've got a wonderful guest again tonight, a good friend, Paul Stevenson, and he's got a unique story and a wonderful story to tell us. But I'm going to let him introduce himself before we get into the nuts and bolts of that. So, welcome, Paul.
Hi, you all right, Stuart? Thank you for having
Very
me.
good, very good.
Right, well, I'll tell you a bit about myself. Paul Stevenson, I'm 62. I know I don't look it, but I had an easy paper round when I was a kid. I've got 5 children, and I live with Tourette syndrome, ADHD, I'm autistic, and a few other neurodivergent conditions. But the amazing thing is I've lived most of my life not knowing that I had these conditions. And the fact that I didn't know, did it mean that they didn't affect me? No, they definitely did affect me. And it shows through my lifestyle. We're pretty chaotic and getting dismissed very early age in school, what they call the remedial class, and leaving with no qualifications. And I found, even though I didn't have a diagnosis for the condition, which some people call labels, I did have a lot of labels for what I lived with. And these labels were very, very negative, like lazy, good for nothing, inherently evil, class clown. And I started to own them, Stuart, because I didn't understand why I were different. I had no idea. I didn't know why I upset people, rubbed people up the wrong way. And I think, leaving school and going off into getting a career never seemed to be an option for me. I worked just to earn money, and that were it. My first job in a plastic factory, reclamation, chopping plastic with an axe on quite good money for 1979, 130 quid a week. But then again, my ADHD kicked in, and I started every 2 years, I get bored, that interest would soon move away. So, I've had a pretty chaotic lifestyle. Didn't get diagnosed till I was 46, and that's how I come to meet you, because I got involved in a few documentaries. National Geographic were the first one, because it was classed as a bit of a rarity, someone my age manifesting tics at that age, even though I'd had them all my life. Anyway, so I did National Geographic. I did a documentary called Employable Me, and that's where Paul met Nancy from Genius Within, and that's how I come to be working for Genius Within, and met you through your lovely wife, Jackie.
Yes.
And, long intro.
I would definitely say she's my boss. I reckon she's your colleague.
No, right, she's my boss as well, but she's a great boss. P45's in the post.
Well, mine too. I think I have not been as inspired by a person's story as much as I have yours of late, to be honest. And I think you're incredible. And I've been looking and trying to think of a way for you to come into my world of work, right, and talk about your lived experience. Because I think the message in the story is really important to get out. Right? But how do I was always thinking, how am I going to get that in a toolbox talk for 20 minutes at the beginning of a shift on one of my sites? You know what I mean? And this, I think, is a better way for us to get that in.
Used to punish me for having these conditions. And I remember doing a talk once. So when I got a diagnosis, when the tics exploded for me, I couldn't find employment, just nothing at all. And I've worked all my life, 2 jobs sometimes, but to be unemployed, I felt a bit worthless. I'm still part of society. I'm not a benefit scrounger. I haven't created a scenario that I'm in this situation through my own fault. It's happened. So I thought, what I'm going to do? I'm in a unique position here where I can articulate to people, to professionals, what young people who have Tourette syndrome might not be able to do or in a position to do. For instance, in the classroom, when they're ticking away and the teacher says, "Be quiet," I can't help it, miss. I'm telling you to be quiet, and I thought, right, I'm going to take advantage of this. So that's what I started doing. I started going around into schools, then universities, then the workplace, talking to police, helping to train police. Another thing that I thought were important, and I think about this, is that I think I told you a story once about that when I was younger, I got skin cancer, and my boss said to me, "Right, Paul, take as much time off as you need, right? When you're ready, come back, your job will be here." But when I was working in later life, when I was in my 40s, when the Tourette's all started to build up and the anxiety and the stress. I remember I was working as a doorman and I started crying on the door. I couldn't stop the tears. I just like, what's going on? And I looked at the guy who was with me, who was one of the bosses, and he said to me, P45's in the post, do one, not working with you. And, turning the narrative round, both them situations potentially could have cost me my life. And I think hitting that hard, tough exterior of man up, pull yourself together. I had manned up, I'd pulled myself together, but I still broke that. I still broke.
Yeah, and I think you say you got a diagnosis. The hardest bit, and I'm sure it's the same for you, right? Especially as a fellow ADHD, right, is asking for help.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Definitely.
And going through the process, of course, right? But the initial bit, that's what saves you, and I think, and helps you. And it helped me. My story's out there elsewhere, but I felt that diagnosis and what I just over a year ago really helped me. And I'm in a much better place. And Jackie would tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's important. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, at the time when I were asking for help, I didn't understand I hadn't got a diagnosis, so I just thought I was losing the plot. I'd suffered from 2 quite severe cases of trauma where I lost a friend, was murdered on the night we were working, and then another friend a few years later took his own life. And this is the thing. I'd got that courage and I plucked up that courage and I was that desperate that I wanted help, but it fell on deaf ears. And I think this is you're only here because it's a cry for help. So we're encouraging people to go forward and speak, an open dialogue. But in order to do that, we need people to start listening. And that's the main thing. Listen, absorb what's being said, and signpost, give advice, let that person know that you care. It's not just a token gesture.
Yeah, you're right. And I think my first experience in really consciously thinking about how to help other people came long before I had my diagnosis of depression. And I've talked about the Lions Barber Collective and making it easier for people to talk, right? But be listened to.
Yeah.
But the key was, come and have your hair cut. Wait, there's a mental health conversation. We don't have to have one. Most people did. And what I loved about that was that people just started talking. Right? It was amazing. And there's nothing wrong with phone lines. There's nothing wrong with text lines, chat lines, and all that stuff, right? But someone's got to take the first step.
Yeah.
So, and I think you're right. Having someone able to listen and just listen sometimes, it's all you need. Sometimes you can get the answer out yourself, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't asking to be fixed. I think maybe at the time I was asking to be fixed, but I think the issue before being fixed was being listened to. Let's see what's going on. And it's funny because up until the stage, there were quite a big gap between me manifesting tics and then actually getting a diagnosis. And because I didn't have a diagnosis, I was under the mental health crisis team. And they kept trying to pigeonhole me into this situation, that situation. I'm not beating up on the mental health crisis team, but like I said, we didn't know this with Tourette syndrome. And I was going through peaks and troughs. And I just wanted somebody to understand what were going on inside my head. I got to that stage where I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what's happening. I'm desperate. Please, somebody. And it's funny because the counselling sessions that I had felt like opening up a 20-year-old scar that had healed. Yeah. And this is a big difference between having counselling and having support coaching support via coaching. The difference was unbelievable. The coaching sessions were like a friend guiding me over some stepping stones on a path that I already knew. Yeah. But these stepping stones I needed to use them because the path were a bit shaky and a bit wet and damp. So I needed that support. They weren't pushing me or directing me or bringing that trauma on again. And I think that's a key thing is that, obviously I'm not a trained counsellor, yourself, you're not a trained counsellor. But when people who are trained are dealing with people, they're not just dealing with that situation there. There's a lot of invisible baggage and trauma that person's carrying. And they're bringing it to that table, aren't they? So...
Right, we are back after that short comfort break.
Just had a poo. I haven't.
Good on you.
Hey, well,
So we were talking about getting the counselling and help, and for me, I think the ADHD thing. Like we both got ADHD. It wasn't a surprise to me, but it felt like a relief that someone went, "This is it. This is why these things." And you're right. And going back to then you looked a band-aid off, and we looked at the depression side was going back 30 odd years into my teens, right? And I think that I get what you were saying, right? Different, which are very different experiences, right? In those areas, but yeah, it was a tough time, but I want to just slightly segue because today I found out something like new for me about you. It was incredible. Is he going to be a film star? What's going on? Tell us about this.
right. So, along my journey, one of my mentor, and he saved my life, was a gentleman called John Davidson. Johnny Davidson, MBE now. When I first saw John, I was still confused as to what I was living with. And I watched a program called I Swear I Can't Help It. And I saw John, I saw Chopper, and myself and my wife Carol went, I've got Tourette's.
Hallelujah.
I know. And it was just like such a massive, big, like, a tsunami of emotion and feeling. So I, at a later date, I met up with John and we became best mates. He kept saying to me, you need to embrace this condition, Paul. I'm like, oh, stupid. How can I embrace a condition such as Tourette syndrome? But he was right. I had to accept it, that it's a lifelong condition and I've got it. Anyway, so John and myself, we've done quite a few documentaries together. This was the first documented on TV case of Tourette syndrome in the UK.
I remember it,
yeah. I can't. I'm just trying to think of the working title there. John's Not Mad, I think it was.
I can't remember. I was a kid.
Yeah, 1989 it was. And he told me all about his life and his life story. And I'm like, you need to write this down. Anyway, a couple of years ago, I was approached by a lovely guy called Kirk Jones of Nanny McPhee fame and said, I would love the privilege of being able to make a film about your life. And that's where that started. So he's got a book coming out called I Swear in August on the 21st, and the movie is released in October. But because he's a good chap, and he secured me a little cameo role in
Brilliant.
in the movie. I had my own trailer with my name written on the side. I'm like, got my feet up there, crossed over, just short of an Havana.
Mine.
But it was like, casting call for Paul. Can Paul come out? And the part. Well, I'm not going to put any spoilers in, but it is a very, very emotional film. And the title is I Swear. And there's a lot of people out there that think everybody with Tourette syndrome swears. Now, the reason why this is called I Swear is because it's about John. And John, like myself, have got coprolalia, which is the swearing tic. And that tic has got him into so much bother, so much trouble. Like myself, we've experienced violence against us and discrimination. And this is John's story. And it's so raw. And I just want to recommend everybody listening to this or watching this that, get it on that watch list. It's been distributed across the world. And for me, the experience are unbelievable, acting.
It's so important, right, to educate regular society, I suppose. I don't know if that's the right phrase, right? But I'm going to go with it. That don't understand, right, that what you live with, and that it's not just swearing, right? And the physical and verbal tics, and it's so important. I mean, I work in an industry. As you said this to me, probably was. It would take ages for anyone to notice. Well, I think I work in a really neurodiverse industry. People just know it in construction how neurodiverse they are. But I've been inspired by you. I've said that earlier in this session, and you came down, you stayed at ours, and I think what I noticed when we were together was the more you relaxed, right, and just see your body letting you relax. And I think, that must be a rare but nice situation for you.
It
And
is. Yeah, it's an alien feeling because I'm usually in a state of fight or flight because every day is Groundhog Day. I know that certain people are going to react in a certain way to my tics. I understand it as well. If I shout something out, it's going to startle somebody, and they've only got a few seconds to assess whether is this a threatening shout. Is this guy on drugs? And it's been terrible, especially having a young family. I've experienced a lot of things. People follow me around, filming me on videos, and I understand the curiosity. But I'll tell you something. One thing I didn't do was get angry. Yeah. I didn't get angry because I thought I didn't know anything about Tourette syndrome until it started with me. And would I have judged somebody in a negative way? Would I have my perception of him been wrong? And I think it probably would have been. So the way that I view things now is that if you're prepared to laugh at my tics, if then you're prepared to cry, let me explain to you what life's like. And if I've told you and educated you and you're still negative, then see you later.
That's your problem.
Yeah, that's your problem.
Not yours.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you talk about laughing. I mean, I tried to do a quiz with you during lockdown.
You've got a dildo on your shelf.
Yeah,
he hasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but could have been anything. I mean, the answers were coming out quicker than we could read the questions out. That's for sure. But I mean, I get it, right? And
we're not good at quizzes. We're definitely not good at quizzes.
Just straight out with the answers.
I remember being in a pub. I went in for a pub with my mate, and he said, "Are you going to be all right?" I went, "Yeah, I'll just cut bar and I'll face bar. I'll just like." And somebody goes, "What is the lightest boxing weight?" And you could hear people going, "Feather, feather, feather." And I went, "Straw." And guess what? Nobody written it down.
Well, and, right,
and it was right, yeah. I don't think it's a weight that's used anymore, but it's like, where did that come from? And it's like super fast reaction. Yeah. Sometimes you don't always get it right. Like what's the guy called, the cyclist who beat cancer and won such and such a thing? And I'm like, Stretch Armstrong. Nah, weren't Stretch Armstrong. Lance, yeah. They stretched him off once. Hey,
yeah. Well, I mean, what you were saying about the education of people and and it is right. We've had a laugh, but you're right. If you're happy to laugh with me, happy to cry with me, understand.
Yeah.
I suppose. I mean, I'm dead fortunate. Oh no, I got Jackie, I've got Nancy, and I've got you, and and all those wonderful people at Genius, and that have educated me on neurodiversity. I suppose that helped me understand ADHD a bit. I wander off, in a conversation. But
that's it, yeah. 1, 2, 3, you're back in the room. That's exactly, I always do that, yeah.
Waiting for Matt Lucas to come round, find me, yeah.
But, I mean, when people say to you, do you suffer from ADHD? And I usually said, well, I think my wife suffers a lot more than me, especially when she's having to tell me something important, because seriously, we're lucky to live in the countryside. She's saying, right, I've got something important to tell you about the kids. And I'll go, oh, sheep are back at field. And she's like, oh my days, Paul, this is serious. Listen to me.
Exactly the same, mate.
Do you not think the strange thing is we've lived with this all our lives, and I think if you look back like I did, most of my pals at school since I've been in contact with have got ADHD, and I think birds of a feather flock together. Now, is that any coincidence with the building trade? And my diagnosis has empowered me, because I've been able to research about ADHD and find out things about ADHD that I never knew about, but I was experiencing. So this condition I've just learned, well, not condition, it's called RSD. Right, now, I don't know what
it's. You're educating me now.
Right, so it's something dysphoria.
What's the R stand for? Really something dysphoria?
I did a talk yesterday for the National Autistic Society, and I'd written it down, right, RSD. So some sensitivity dysphoria, right, that's coming in. Okay. I'm just getting my fishing rod out in my brain, trying to like
pull it out here,
find the right word. Anyway, basically, so we don't have to have a negative comment said to us, but we really get upset if, so for instance, I got an email, can we speak tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, I'm getting
What have I
sacked.
done?
Yeah. What have I done wrong?
Yeah.
Right. And when I found that out, I'm like, I've done this all my life. You know, always been like trying to get compliments off people, reassurance off people that,
Yeah.
is this all right? Have I done a good job? And, you know, even in my adult life, wanting feedback right away. So have I done all right? Are you happy with it? And if I didn't get a response back, then that were me catastrophizing, you know, the negativity of it. So, right.
I get that. And, you know, again, it must be common, I think, certainly with us. We both have it. I don't have any stats to say it's more common than that, right? Well,
No.
I think that wanting to be reassured that you've done the right thing. I've been, when I started my counselling, they were like, reckon really good at masking this, but also you're a people pleaser, right? And I'm like, yeah,
Exactly.
like, yeah, but you don't put yourself first ever, right? And you
No.
pains, and you probably get yourself in bother trying to please everyone. Like, yeah, do.
So I'm just having a rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
That's it. Well
I managed to recall that back because I've just Googled it. Well, which is something we do also. So I mean, another thing I do when I'm watching films, I'm watching one about some American gangsters last night with De Niro in, and I'm like, I'll start Googling this. Did this happen? What date did this happen? And like 3 nights later, I'm just getting to end at film because
You keep pausing it.
I spent more time doing that. And I've got an ability to watch when kids haven't got the remote, watch maybe 3 channels at the same time, flicking from one to another. Usually when sport's on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and they're like, for me, it's not a problem. That's just how I am. But for everybody else, it's like really annoying.
Really annoying. Really annoying. Yeah. Exactly.
Hey.
Exactly. What's that to me? What are you doing? I've been watching that. It doesn't let me have the remote now.
Have you got a tendency to suss what's going to happen in a program? Like you're watching a movie and you go,
yeah.
All right, so I was watching this movie called Titanic, and I'm like that. It sinks.
We all knew that was going to sink. That's not...
no, but we other things. I start guessing the plot. You know what's happening. I'm like, all right, he's murdered him. It's Carol's going right. Thanks. You know, like have another 8 episodes to go before the detective solves the problem. So yeah,
and you've done it first episode. I reckon it was her
with first look
library with a candle.
Hey, Dr. Plum, by the way.
Dr. Plum. Well, yeah, Cluedo was a really short game in your house. Yeah.
Where are you?
So these days, right? So I can't wait. Right, we'll get links and everything from you post show, post pod, and put them in there for I swear as well. But so obviously I know the story with Employable Me. I know you met Nancy and what have you. So what's that led to today? Where are you today? What are you doing?
This is unreal, you know, and people say, oh, it's inspirational porn and that lot. But do you know, factually, I've rediscovered and reinvented myself. Not my personality, but my career. I've got a career. I've got a vocation. I've found my niche. So I've gone from struggling from job to job, never finding job satisfaction, no fulfillment, to having a breakdown and not being able to leave my house. So I go on public transport, to becoming a public speaker and speaking internationally. And I've done this since starting with Genius. And, you know, Nancy and Jackie and all the other folk there have just been so kind and given me that sort of freedom and understanding and acceptance. You know, that I think that's the main thing. They've accepted that this is who I am. And I remember in Employable Me, the storyline, obviously they get a storyboard, but the storyline was to follow that I'd go for an interview and get a job as a photographer. And I did a positive assessment with Nancy. And she said to me, listen, you're scoring very high as someone who can educate and you're very articulate. I think you should follow that path. The photography's good, but you do it for respite and creativity. And she said to me, carry on doing what you're doing, go out talking and build upon that. And she said, I'm sure we'll cross paths again. And we did, you know. So, I mean, I'm just, this year's been really busy. I'm just back from Athens, at the International Tourette's Conference, which attracts like consultants, doctors, researchers from around the globe. And it was my biggest ever gig. You know, I did an hour's talk there, and I never thought I'd be capable of doing anything like that. You know, I really didn't. And and then from there, I went to Italy, and we opened up a listening point for young neurodivergent young people and adults in a college and in a school, and also did a TV interview with. Went to watch a play about. It's called What Mothers Don't Say, and it's a monologue about mothers of children with Tourette syndrome, and just making all these contacts, different platforms coming, and seizing opportunities to raise more awareness. Somebody was saying they're thinking of doing an opera about Tourette syndrome. I'm like, right, I'm your man.
Yeah,
And that's funny because in that period of time when I was unemployed and couldn't get a job, looking back now, I didn't know what my strengths were. Right? I hadn't a clue what my strengths were. I'd had little glimmers of them in the past, but once they were identified to me, I'm like, wow, I can do this. And I thought, looking back, I put myself at back at queue in them jobs. I did. I thought, who want to employ somebody? I'm not going to get a job as a librarian or working at Tesco's going, as the price. People aren't just going to, it's not going to work. But now I know my strengths, it works perfectly because I work to my strengths and, I really get points across to people. Hey, fuck.
I think you're right. Once you understand your strengths and how best to operate, right, as you, right, bring the best out of yourself. And shameless plug, I did the Genius Finder Pro, and because I was a guinea pig, right?
Yeah. I were an hamster. Well, running around wheel like this. Sorry. I'm a visual thinker. Sorry about that, Stuart.
No, it's fine. What I found was those techniques have really changed how I operate. Yeah. Being able to, there are distractions, right? I get distracted really easy, like you. There's a sheep in the field thing, like you said before. So trying to put myself where there's not a lot behind me. Like I keep looking at the books, right? But there's not a lot behind me. It's going to make me go off and think about something else. And trying to put, I'm a clumsy bugger as well, right? I walk into all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So stopping at the beginning of a corridor and making sure there's nothing to trip over, looking at the ground when I'm walking and things like that. Yeah. And it sounds like little things, but they all come from that. I think that helps. That helps in the understanding of being yourself and being your best self,
And those strategies, they're common sense and they're free. There's no expense in adopting them and picking them up. And this is the thing. In one of the talks I was doing yesterday, there's lots of therapies out there. There's a neo pulse coming on now, which helps people with tics, interrupts the tic flow, and all the things that are there to help us should be there to help us. They should be given us as tools for us to see fit and use when we want to. Right? I can people. What's ended up happening now is that you've got young people in school where teachers going, "You can suppress. I know you can hold your tics in. You have to do it." That just defeats the object of giving somebody some tools to empower them because you're forcing them, you're restricting them. It's back into that, square peg in a round hole or round peg in a square hole. I don't know. I've tried both. But, but my suppression, because somebody said, I don't agree with suppression. I don't agree with it being enforced on somebody. Ideally, when you start to understand my condition is that they're said without malice or intent to disrupt. So I did this illustration where while I was talking to these teachers, I moved my cup and it made a noise, banged. And then I dragged my chair that was next to my desk and it juddered. And I just paused for a second and I looked at them all and I went, sorry about the disturbances there. And they went, oh, it's fine. And I went, why is it fine? And I went, it's fine because you know the source of that noise. You know that that's what happens when a chair gets moved. So once you start realizing that when someone tics, when they have a motor tic, a vocal tic, there's no intention, there's no malice, there's no disruptive reason for doing it, then you know the source of that tic, and it's a win-win because you don't react. I'm more relaxed. The tics lessen, and And so just simple things like that, looking at things from a different point of view, really work.
It does, and it helps to understand, and that's why I was really keen to do this with you because, I know a lot of people don't. As simple as that, right? I know a lot of people don't understand. And I'm not just professing to be any sort of an expert, by the way, but
No.
you're my mate, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we can do some good with the world, for the world from this, and help people understand how difficult it is for at the outset. But once your friends, your family, and the people you work with are like, yeah, that's just, it is what it is, right? And we know where it's coming from. Get on with it.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
It must make life easier, well, better for you, better, not
Right, it
easier.
is. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I feel welcome. I can remember a friend of mine, is a wheelchair user, and she's coming in. She made quite a lot of noise, and people would look round. They go, "Oh, it's Mary. Hi, Mary." I'd walk into a room. I'd tick, I'd say something, people would laugh, and they'd be like, "Oh, did you hear what he just said? Then he said that. Why is he shouting so much? Is he angry?" Now, all I want for everybody is to be equal to the fact of where, "Oh, hi, Mary. Hi, Paul. You're right." And I've got that at Genius,
Yeah.
and it's
Hopefully,
it's
you're getting
so,
more of that
yeah.
elsewhere.
Well, yeah, the more we get out, the more we put ourselves about, the better it is. But there's still that thing where, we have awareness days, and awareness days are good. They're another platform to start explaining things to people, but it's got to go beyond that awareness. It's got to go to that acceptance. And people are aware of the name Tourette syndrome. People are aware of ADHD, but do they know what it is? Do they know how it affects people? Do they know how torturous it can be to live with these conditions? Do they know how life-threatening it can be to, be burdened by the challenges of these conditions? So I was last told that it's 4 times more likely to commit suicide who have Tourette syndrome. And it's like, why? You know, if we had that acceptance, then would that be the case? If we had that opportunity to go to somebody knowing very well that they were going to listen to us and not judge us,
Yeah,
you,
might
you
bring
know,
that figure down, mightn't it? I mean, I think this, helping people with suicide prevention and awareness has been a big thing for me. Um, you know, constructions. I saw something yesterday, and someone said you need to stop saying two a day. So too many people,
too many do. Yeah.
right? In construction, die from suicide, and we need to do more about it. And it's trying to get to the root cause of it. Now, you've hit a really good nail on the head in regards to with Tourette's, and people feel accepted and treated fairly. Right? A lot of this is about fairness. Then maybe those figures will come down, right? And
Yeah, they really would. I mean, so one of the criticisms my mum had of me when I was a kid is that I'm too forgiving. So, I mean, I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness. I was the only English boy in a Scottish school, and I had tics that I didn't know about, and the bullying were merciless, right? And I just accept it and went, "They don't understand, Mum." And she went, "Well, they're bad. This should happen. That should happen." And like I said, I didn't build up any hatred towards anybody. Uh, and I think kindness, there's a big kindness matters movement going on, and I've got that attitude now that I might bump into somebody that might be abrupt with me, and it might not be fair, it might hurt my feelings, but I don't know what they've just experienced. Really don't. They could have had a family tragedy, loss of a pet, you, something recalled some trauma from the past, and it's giving people that space to be able to like express themselves. And it might be at that moment in time, it's not the best time to go and deal with it and talk to them about it. But if you forgive and you're kind, then the opportunity will come around for that conversation to open. And it's something that I always try and practice all the time. And people do upset you, and they get you rag up, and it's like, "Argh." But then it's taking that time to step back and think, right,
take a breath.
right,
Yeah.
okay,
And there's very few people. There's a couple, but I won't name them. Right? Very
Yeah, I know who they are. I don't. But one's called Malcolm. Sorry, I don't. By the way, I don't know anybody called Malcolm that Stuart knows. So if Malcolm's watching now and he takes offence, please don't. Purely coincidental.
Okay.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
No, it's fine. Oh, my ADHD is going to make me forget what I'm about now.
Very few people who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think, now I've lost my train of thought now. I'll edit it after.
Sorry about that. It were a marriage in the making, this, by the way.
Well,
Two ADHDs.
Two ADHDs try and keep themselves on track. I knew I should have stuck to my script. Anyway, I'll sort that out later. But the kindness, right?
Yeah, kindness, yeah.
Right, I'll give myself back on track. So I agree with the kindness thing, and I think it's really, really, really important, right? So I went through my counselling, and it goes back, I think, not necessarily for ADHD, psoriasis. I don't really anymore. A little tiny bit there. Yeah. Used to have it all over my body, scalp. Right. That's why I actually have quite thick hair, but I shave it off, otherwise psoriasis comes back, right? I've got it. But when you're a teenager, kids are arseholes. As they certainly were in the 80s and 90s, right? For me, I used to go away and I used to try and be the clown and make people laugh. Yeah. Right, so they leave me alone. And you hear that a lot of the comedians, they were bullied at school, and my defense mechanism was to try and make them laugh. Mm-hmm. And you go home and you'd be like, yeah, and you didn't want to shower, and and these are the days where it was communal showers. There were no shower cubicles in schools and all that stuff, right? And that people weren't kind, no, right? And so I kind of get that. I get that history, and that's manifested itself, and it's taken till I was 46 when I started talking to someone about it to understand where I'd come from, right? Where my brain had come from. And I think I did another podcast with a guy called Gavin Coyle, lovely, wonderful bloke called Andy Gaffer, right? And he said to me, okay, looking back, what would you change? And I wish in my teens there was the mental health that there was for physical health. Even though it wasn't till probably 6-7 years ago, I found a magic medication for my psoriasis. I could have lived with the physical stuff if someone had helped me mentally as a teenager. They didn't. Right?
No.
And I think that I never wanted to treat people the way other kids had treated me.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
Right. So you've struck a chord with me with the kindness thing, and
because it's all that internalized negativity. It doesn't go away. It's still there. I had the fortune of meeting one of my bullies when I was working as a doorman, and it were quite, just said, "Can I just have a word with you, mate?" And he's like, "What for done wrong? What for done wrong?" I went, "No, I just want to have a chat with you." I said, "Do you not recognise me?" And he's like, "No." I went, Paul Stevenson. "Oh, Stevie, all right, mate. Well, I'm, or a bit of a bad at school." And I said, "I want to ask you a question." And I said, "Don't." He was more concerned that I was going to be aggressive and angry with him. Yeah. And I had no intention of being. I went, "I just wondered why you bullied me when I was at school." He went, "Well, what it were is that you were different."
Yeah. And that
nothing, and nothing else. And he went, "No, you were different. It just stood out as being different." And it were like, wow. And he's like, "Oh, are we good now?" I said, "Yeah, we're fine. I don't hold any grudges. You know what I mean? I don't know his background. I don't know why you were like that. But it's funny that, our children or young people have to go through all this thing just because they are different, when they really should be like being able to stand there loud and proud as to who they are, as the genuine selves." Praise the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. And I despise that cruelness when I see it. So I do football coaching for the juniors. I did the under 15s this year. That's my 10th year of doing it. And juniors within the sponsor the club, because that's my ethos as well, right? Yeah. About inclusivity and let everyone play. If you want to play football, play football. If you're that good, right? Because I've had loads of grief over the years. Why don't you do streaming? Why don't you have an A team and a B team? Yeah. You come with me and tell some kids they're not good enough. Yeah. Right. We've got two teams. one lives here, you can play in that team, and one lives here, and you can play in that team. And you go with your dad, and you play with me, and enjoy the football.
Yeah,
It would
for
be
what it
lovely
is.
to win more matches, right?
Yeah.
We all want to win more matches, but 15, 20 minutes after the end of a game, if you've lost, we'll have a little bit of a laugh on the way back to the car, taking the footballs, and the kids come out with inappropriate jokes like could someone grab my balls and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We've got teenage kids now, teenage boys. You're like, oh, there goes me safeguarding course, and
Yeah.
you've got to try and stop them. But they're not there because they're about to go and play for Brighton. The kids that are good enough, and we've had some.
Yeah.
One signed his professional contract this
Wow.
week with Brighton from Plumpton. They go and play in those teams, right? And we're a good team, and we're a good club. But because we have this kindness from me in my age group, I can't speak for every age group, right? Every coach is different, but I think I don't want my team, my kids that play football for me, to go through meanness.
Oh, yeah. That, and it's the fact that you're inclusive and everybody's welcome, which never used to be the case when we were kids.
No.
There'd be a 20 of you stood there, and all the good players would get picked first. I was that bad that they used to pick a satchel over me to pick goalpost. Seriously, it'd be me and a satchel, and they went, "We're having satchel. You can have
satchel. You can have ball as a goalpost."
But it's like you felt left out, and I just wanted to have fun. I didn't want to play for any professional football team. But yeah, that's great, and it'll be character building in the sense that they'll appreciate having that freedom.
Playing for the team, not for themselves.
Yeah.
That's dead important. And some of them get
definitely
pissed off with me. I can see it when they come off. Like, why did you bring me off for that kid? Well, he had to come on. It's his turn to play.
Yeah.
Now, they're all getting better because we got to an age where some kids go private school and they have to play on a Saturday, so they can't come and play for us. They have to do school sports. So that means the 13 or 14 that are left get a game every week. So they're all getting better.
Yeah.
But they're getting the opportunity. And if I wasn't inclusive, they've never had that opportunity to play every week and to be a better footballer or a better person. I mean, they are hugging each other. They're checking in on each other all the time. It's amazing. And I think kids are better than when I was a kid. Yeah. And the after effects of what happened to me in my teens are, I'm resilient. I am resilient. But eventually, enough shit gets on your shoulders, it gets you down. The last 5 years with different family illnesses, whether it's Jackie or Dad or issues my kids have had. Annabelle started school, secondary school in a lockdown and things like that. Eventually, it gets you down. And I spotted the signs after everyone else that drinking. We built a bar. I mean, that was probably the worst idea. Yeah. Built a bar, sitting there on the PlayStation or watching reruns of Alvida's Aim Pet till 2 a.m.
Yeah. These are coping strategies that we've picked up on, that we've used before we've known we've got ADHD.
Yeah.
And they're not right. They're not healthy. But this is how we've survived, though. This is how we've got through things.
Yeah. I mean, I was on 20 to 30 a day a year ago. Now, I smoke cigars occasionally, right? When my father-in-law goes, "I'll have a cigar. I'm 92. Yeah. I'm not going to have many more." You're like, "But you will. You'll be round again next week smoking cigars."
Using that same blag every week.
I know, yeah. It's been 15 years now. But I think I've noticed in those signs. So, sitting here with a pint, but a pint of water. I was tempted to fill it with Peroni, by the way.
Well, I mean, when we booked this in, I'm like, do I? Yeah, because you do relax. But do you know something? Knowing that our predisposition is going to be such isn't an excuse. I can't help this, so this is why I'm doing it. It's a mitigation. It's an understanding of where we can put other things in place. And for me, I understand the mechanism that, I came back from Athens, I came back from Italy, and my dopamine levels were like bang, 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 bang. Came back to one of the kids being upset when we were a family member, and it were like bottom of a budgie's cage, and in dopamine, nothing there. And I'm like, oh, flipping it, and your first reaction is, I'll have a beer. I'll just chill out. I'll have a beer. But that's when that information, that understanding comes in place, where you can start self-regulating, thinking, right, perhaps this isn't the best idea. I'll treat myself in another way. And we do need treating, I do need a reward. Like one of the kids had bought me some Galaxy, and it's the only chocolate. I'm not a sweet tooth, but it's the only chocolate that I actually enjoy eating. And I can remember having that feeling where, right, do I go to off license and get a few cans? And I thought, you know what, my Galaxy. And it did the trick, I got the comfort from it. And then proceeded to eat about 20 bars of it, which weren't really No, I never did. I'm only joking.
You would, I can completely imagine that. And I think you do. I find alcohol is a mood enhance, and enhance is not the right. If I'm in a good mood, like having a drink, I'm in a great mood. Right? Or if I'm in a bad mood or bad place, that's when I found it worse.
It's a conveyor belt to extremes, isn't it?
That's a great phrase. And so noticing those trends has been huge. It's helped me with supporting other people in my life at the moment who are going through difficult times and whatever. So I'm in a good place, and I think that's great. And I always find it encouraging seeing your stuff and seeing how you're getting on, and it's brilliant.
I think if you can, you don't do this supporting thing for want of return. I'm not after reward for doing it. I'm not after, what's the word? I can't think of the word just now, but my main thing is that if you can just make a difference in one person's life, you don't have to do a great gesture, do you?
Like Wembley Stadium saying thanks.
Yeah. And it's like saying, well, I've took charge of this and I've made this person what they are. No, I've just signposted that person to where the best's going to be helped and supported. And they did all the work. And all we're just like little conductors that, something comes to us, that'll work well over there. They'll find that support there. Let me direct you to such and such a person. They're brilliant at this. And I think doing that and not having ownership of things has helped me a lot. And I don't know, that's my ethos.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, I think I've been great at networking and listening all my life. I talk a lot, but I listen more, and that's led me to be a fixer. I fix things, fix problems. Sometimes people don't know there is a problem.
No.
Right? Because I fixed it before it came.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great tool, great power. Oh, no, I'd say superpowers are we these days?
No.
I go mad. But it is a great advantage of my ADHD is that maybe it's not ADHD. Maybe ADHD just helps my clever brain, right? I'm not daft. I'm really good at what I do, which I wouldn't have said a year ago, right, or 2 years ago. But my confidence levels are better now, and that is all through that recognition of that's what it is. That's what's doing this to me.
Yeah.
It's not wrong with me. It's what it is.
We're great problem solvers, thinking out the box. Both two of my children are autistic, and they don't like me rescuing or trying to fix things. They really don't like it. Because when they come to me with a problem, I'm just like yourself. I'm like, right, I'm on it. That's the time that comes in. This comes in. Make sure you don't talk. Make sure you don't get a taxi that's not got a light on. Make sure that you book an Uber. And it's like Carol's going, they've got to learn the sales poll. They've come to you to talk to you, not for you to solve problems for them. But I've got to,
Yeah.
And it is good. And I think your experiences in life, because some people will see resilience as a strength. But I think it's a strength now, but it's something that I had to find. I had to adopt. That many doors got shut in my face. I got knocked down that many times. but I didn't give up. I kept going. Now, was I born with that resilience? Is it part of my neurodivergent makeup? I don't know, but I've had to like work on that resilience to keep going forward. So, and it has become a strength now. But I think it's been an adopted strength in the sense that I never give up. I didn't want to give up. I might have felt like doing it, but I didn't.
And I think we're all in a richer place that you didn't give up, and you've done some amazing things. Incredible. I feel really proud of everything that the Genius does, but also, it's brought us together as pals, and we do have a laugh.
Yeah, we do.
Sometimes it's a tick, but sometimes it's just our brain thinking the same way, right?
Wait, you see me turning water into wine. That's a good one.
Well,
yeah.
Absolutely, right.
I bet Jesus were at life and solar parties, flipping. with no grubbing. Well, have you got any bread and fish? Boom. Let's get them 5,000 down.
Yeah. And what we're celebrating with? Well,
tap water. Tap water, you say? Here's a bottle of Merlot. I mean, that side of my brain's like very irreverent and very complex ticks, but I don't mean it in a disrespectful way.
No, absolutely.
It's just that as a visual thinker, I thought the other day, I remember this guy saying, I used to work with this guy, and this is going on to another thing about workplace bullying. But he knew I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, and he insisted on pushing his faith on me. And he kept saying to me, I've been searching for Jesus years and years, and I've finally found him. And I went, well, you shouldn't play hide and seek with him then. And he just stopped him dead in his path. And it's like that I like that bit about my Tourette's where...
as I said to you before, I found... And I appreciate it's tiring, but sometimes, right, it's funny.
Yeah.
Some of the things you like, when we were doing those quizzes in lockdown, and me and Jackie sitting there like, oh, we're going to do this quiz. Yeah. Right, what is... Rome!
Yeah.
Like, oh... Just stuff where you just can't stop laughing and you miss the question.
And something? It's whether, like you said, you entertain people. I can remember working on a door. It's a very, it can be fun, but a lot of time it were hostile. People at the beginning of the night were really nice, and then when you get people who are aggressive and drunk. And I remember this guy coming up to me, and he'd been bored. I hadn't bored him. I had nothing against him really, but it was my job to enforce. And I said, "Listen, not tonight, mate." And he went, "For one, I'm not your mate." And I said, "Okay then, but you still can't come in." He went, "Do you know who I am?" And I went, "Not really, no." He says, "Well, I know people who can make people disappear." I went, "Paul Daniels? Bloody hell."
Amazing.
And he cracked up laughing. And he's like, "Well, you're a funny man." I went,
"That's great."
Yeah, but you're still not coming in, mate.
You still can't come in, yeah. Do one. Well, look, mate,
I could digress and carry on.
Your evening, right? I think we could do this time and again, and we will, right? We'll do more. We come back, and like I said to you before we started recording, maybe we'll do one in person, right? And because I really love helping you get the message out, right, and raise that awareness, but also acceptance,
encouraging that acceptance,
encouraging it. Yeah, it is really important. So. Look, thanks for coming on here, right?
Yeah.
Because
it's a pleasure.
I'm new on this, right? So trying my best. Hopefully it wasn't...
I can imagine Pitfolk might be watching this going, "Well, where are they going with this? What slow down, lads. What were we talking about in the first place?"
Going, these two on here might not be a good idea.
No.
But I think we behaved ourselves pretty well. Maybe it's a good job we didn't have a pint.
Yeah, exactly.
But look, absolutely
love to
you, mate, and we will definitely do it again soon. So thanks, Paul. Thanks for your time.
Brilliant. Give me love to family as well, will you?
Will do. No problem. See you soon.
Cheers, bud. Take care. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Thank you for joining me for that episode. It's one that I've been really looking forward to. Paul's a fantastic human, great friend, and someone I always love being in the company of. So I hope it helps you understand Tourette's a bit more. As Paul's quote was, and it's one of the best quotes I've heard from him, "It's all right to laugh with me as long as you're prepared to cry with me." And I think for him, that acceptance and educating us on Tourette syndrome. And neurodiversity is brilliant. So thank you, Paul. Thank you for joining us on this. And I'll see you soon for our next podcast. All the best.